ever wish you could, like, understand people a little bit better? You know, like, why they do the things they do? Maybe even predict how they'll react?
That was pretty useful.
Right. Well, today, on our deep dive, we're going to explore this super cool thing called the Big Five.
Ah, yes. The ocean model.
Exactly. It's like this powerful tool, like psychologists use it to map out personality.
It's more than just pop psychology, too. Like, there's
Yeah.
tons of research behind it, real sciencey stuff.
And get this, we're pulling some extra insights from this article I found. It's from the Spiritual Seek, and it's called Big Five Personality Traits, a dive into the ocean model.
Catchy title.
Right. So basically, we're going to break down each of these 5 personality dimensions and kind of like pepper in some of the fascinating stuff from the article. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. Let's dive in.
Awesome. So first up is openness to experience.
Oh, this one's all about, like, your curiosity. It's about how much you crave new experiences.
Okay, so like someone who's always up for trying new things.
Exactly. They might be drawn to, like, unusual jobs, things that are off the beaten path.
We're always questioning, like, the way things are done.
Totally. They're comfortable with, like, the unknown.
That makes sense. But I'm guessing there's got to be a downside to being, like, too open, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, imagine starting a million projects but never finishing any of them.
Ooh, yeah. Spreading yourself too thin.
Right. Commitment can be tough for folks who are super high in openness.
Interesting. So it's about finding a balance, I guess, between exploring and, like, actually focusing.
Exactly. It's a spectrum.
Okay, makes sense. So next up is conscientiousness. This one seems pretty straightforward, right? Like being organized, responsible.
Yeah, it's about those things, but it's also about, like, self-discipline, having a strong work ethic.
Okay, so like that coworker everyone loves because they're always on top of things.
Yeah, think of them as the architects of their own lives, They plan things out, they set goals, and they actually achieve them.
Wow, so conscientiousness is like linked to success.
Research shows it's a pretty strong predictor, yeah.
That's so cool. But can someone be too conscientious?
Oh, definitely. They can get caught up in perfectionism,
Yeah.
never feeling like anything's good enough.
Ooh, yeah, I can see that. So again, it's about finding that sweet spot.
Balance is key.
Okay, on to a trait I think everyone's heard of, extraversion.
The life of the party.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than that, right?
It is. It's really about where you get your energy from.
Okay, I've heard that before. Like extroverts recharge by being around people, and introverts need alone time.
Bingo. But extroversion also includes things like assertiveness and, a generally positive outlook.
So an extrovert might be the one who always takes charge in a group project.
Totally. They're comfortable putting themselves out there.
But what about the quieter folks? Like, are introverts just at a disadvantage?
Not at all. They bring their own strengths. Like they tend to be more thoughtful, more introspective.
Okay, so both sides have their perks.
Absolutely. It's about appreciating the differences.
Makes sense. So, agreeableness. This one seems self-explanatory, right? Like, being kind, compassionate.
Yeah, it's about being cooperative, trusting, and wanting to, like, keep things harmonious.
So, like the peacemakers.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
They value getting along with others.
But could someone be too agreeable? Like maybe they get taken advantage of.
That's a valid point. Too much of anything can be a problem.
Right. Okay, last one, neuroticism. I feel like this word has like a bad rap.
It does. But really, it's all about emotional stability,
Okay, so it's more about how easily you get stressed out or upset.
Exactly. And everyone experiences those things to some degree. It's just about where you fall on the spectrum.
Gotcha. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to be like a little neurotic.
Not at all. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, this is all making a lot more sense now. So we've covered all 5 dimensions.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we've talked about all these different dimensions.
Yeah, we've got our openness, our conscientiousness, all that.
But I don't know, it feels like they're all kind of connected somehow.
You're totally right. The cool thing about the Big Five is it's not just about looking at each trait on its own. It's about how they all work together.
So it's like the whole picture, more than just the individual parts.
Exactly. Think of it like a band, right? You've got your different instruments. Each one's got its own sound.
I get it.
But it's how they all come together. The harmony, the melody, that's what makes the music awesome.
Ooh, that's a good analogy.
So like someone could be super extroverted, right?
Yeah.
But also really high in neuroticism.
So like they love being around people, but also get stressed easily.
Exactly. It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, so it's not about putting people in boxes. It's more about
nuance.
Nuance, right.
Each person's got their own unique blend of these traits.
Okay, and that's what makes us all different.
Precisely. And that actually brings up another big question. Nature versus nurture.
Oh, yeah, the classic debate. Like, are we born with our personalities or do we develop them over time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
So, like, is it our genes or our environment?
Well, research suggests it's kind of both.
Both, huh? So, like, a mix.
Yeah, we inherit certain tendencies, predispositions.
Okay, but then...
But then, how those tendencies actually play out, that's influenced by our experiences, our environment, all that stuff.
So, like, we have some say in the matter.
Absolutely. We're not just robots programmed by our genes. We can learn, we can grow, we can change.
Wow, that's actually pretty empowering.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why understanding the Big Five can be so helpful.
How so?
Because it gives us a framework for understanding ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, where we might need to work a little harder.
So someone who's high in neuroticism, for example.
Right. They could learn coping mechanisms like mindfulness or relaxation techniques.
To manage their anxiety.
Exactly. It's about using this knowledge to, become the best versions of ourselves.
Okay, so it's not just about labeling people. It's about...
Growth.
Growth, right. All right, before we move on to our last section...
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add about, how these 5 traits actually play out in, real life?
Okay, so we're back, and we've been on this deep dive into personality, exploring the ocean, all its depths.
Right, and we've talked about, self-awareness and even, personal growth.
Yeah, that inner journey stuff.
But I'm kind of curious, how does all this Big Five stuff actually help us, in our everyday lives? Relationships, work, all that.
Oh, it can be super useful. Let's take relationships, for example.
Okay, yeah, how does knowing someone's personality type actually help?
Well, imagine you're dating someone who's, super introverted.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
Knowing that can totally change how you approach, disagreements or conflicts.
Because you understand, why they need that alone time.
Exactly. It's not that they don't care. It's just how they recharge,
Makes total sense. And I guess this applies to, friendships, family, even work relationships.
Oh, absolutely. At work, if you know your colleague is super conscientious, you can pretty much count on them to, meet deadlines and be super organized.
And if someone's high in agreeableness...
They might be the perfect person to, smooth things over when there's conflict.
Ooh, yeah. So knowing the Big Five is kind of like having, a cheat sheet for understanding people?
Uh-huh. Yeah, kinda.
Uh-huh.
It helps you anticipate how folks might react in different situations.
Super helpful. Okay, so what about careers? Does personality play a role there, too?
Huge role. Think about it. Some people just, naturally thrive in certain jobs.
Okay, yeah, someone super extroverted might be drawn to, sales or public speaking.
Totally. Whereas someone high in openness might be more into, creative fields like writing or art.
It's like finding that perfect fit,
Exactly. And research actually shows that people are happier and more successful when their jobs match their personalities.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears for a sec. We've been talking about individuals, but what about culture?
Ah, good point. So the Big Five, those dimensions, they seem to be pretty universal.
Universal, so across different cultures.
Yep. But how those traits actually show up, that can vary a lot.
Oh, interesting. So what's considered outgoing in one culture might be totally different in another.
Exactly. It's all about context,
Wow, so much to think about. So, to wrap things up,
Yeah.
any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I'd say, remember, the Big Five isn't about putting people in boxes. It's about understanding.
Understanding ourselves and others.
Exactly. It's about, building empathy, being more compassionate.
Awesome. And to our listeners, keep exploring this stuff. It's fascinating.
Observe the people around you, See if you can spot those Big Five traits in action.
It's a whole new way of looking at the world.
It is. And remember, the journey of self-discovery, it never really ends.
So true. Well, that's it for this deep dive, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep on learning.